The previous lesson, what we did was to create a cycle of the character, so it would be cycled right out. Here, what we want to look at is while cycles are brilliant, it could be that you actually want to move the character across the stage. So if I zoom out, for example, I'm going to hold the Alt key to turn it into zooming out, and let's just say that we want this character to actually come into the stage and sort of animate out. So it'll be like we've got a fixed camera with the character moving into the stage and moving out. So that is the plan for this particular tutorial. With that said, one of the things that we need to actually create is that we actually need to look at pegs, and to create a peg is really quite easy, and there's a little button for it there. We're going to click on the peg element, and that brings that in there. You can see it as a separate layer. There's nothing in particular on the scene line. It doesn't do anything in particular, but what we want to do is to create a relationship between this peg and the drawing that we've got, and that's really quite simple. We select the drawing and just drag it into the peg itself. Again, nothing much has happened except that you notice that the drawing is moved to the side and we've got a little arrow there. So if I click on to close that, the drawing disappears because now the drawing is part of this peg. It is a relationship between them, and that relationship is called the parent-child relationship. Whereas whatever happens to the peg will automatically affect the drawing. But we can actually work the drawing independently of the peg as well. So that's the relationship. It is bound to the peg to actually do whatever it's required of it. So, okay, so with that said, how are we going to actually use the peg in the scene? What does it do? Well, it allows us to do a variety of different things. One of them is the main reason that it is called a peg because it behaves a little bit like a peg bar. In other words, you've got the drawings attached to it. So if you move the peg bar across your light box, then all your drawings are going to follow along with it because they're attached to it. So this is what it means. So I'm just going to go to this option now, which is on my transformation tool here, and click on that, and with the peg selected, let me just hit this button here as well so we can actually see in our camera. With our peg selected, we've got these boxes becoming visible to us. Now that box itself is really related to the peg itself, but it will also influence the actual drawing. So I could literally go to the corner and stretch and scale this drawing. Let me just undo that. I could go to that handle there and rotate it. By rotating the peg itself, I'm actually influencing the drawing underneath it as well. I'll do that as well. But what is also important is that we can actually do a transformation on it. So I'm just going to go to my first frame on the peg and right click and go add keyframe, which adds a keyframe there. Then I'm going to go to my last frame right there, and I'm going to grab a hold of the central blue box there, and I'm just going to drag the character out of the scene, right? And you can see the movement happening across that in that one. But I'm going to go to the first frame again, and what I'll do is just grab a hold of that blue circle there and drag it out of the scene as well, right there. Now, there are two important elements to bear in mind. One of them is that now the character is going to be moving along, as you can see, with the peg. The other is that these blue lines here, let me just zoom right into it. These blue lines here are really are an indicator of frames, the position and the spacing of each frame on the scene. So so that, zoom out of that, so that we know at frame 2 the character is going to be there, frame 3 is going to be there, frame 4 is going to be there, frame 5 is going to be there, and so on and so forth. So if I play this, we are moving in accordance to exactly those lines. Now, that's good. The other thing that is quite obvious is that when I play this now, I've got a sense that that character is sliding across the scene. Okay, and that's no good. Sliding happens when the movement that we've created for the character moving forward, it's a little too fast for the movement of the feet. So in other words, this length that we've created from start to finish is too long. If I shorten that up, I'm likely to get much better results. So I'm going to go to the end of my animation. Make sure that I am on the last frame there. I'm going to hit the transform button. I'm going to go to the blue circular bit there. Not quite. And just shift the whole thing inwards a little bit. So let's just say maybe at the beginning might be better, because otherwise the end of our animation will end up within the scene. So I'm going to go to the end, grab a hold of that, and just bring that in so the character is just outside. Now let's see if that's going to give us a better result. There is a slight slide still happening, but it is better. So what I'll do again, pull that character in so that the leg is a little bit exposed, but I'm going to go to the beginning and hit the play button. It is much better. It still needs adjusting. Probably need to adjust it a little bit more by a few frames, but then that would be quite solid. So there is a marked difference. So whenever you get sliding, it's because the length of animation that you've got the peg moving across is too long, and you need to shorten that. There are times like this when you just say, well, actually the character doesn't move out of the frame, and that's no good. So the only other solution to that would be to actually increase the length of your cycles as well. So at the moment we had this set to 6 cycles. By hitting 7 or 8 cycles, you probably would lengthen the the animation, and then you would have a lot more room to actually do a bit more animation on there in terms of getting things out of the frame and everything. And that's the end of this lesson.